He came riding out of the dusk like a shadow that didn't belong to the land, a tall, broad-shouldered cowboy with dust caked into the lines of his coat and eyes so quiet they looked like they'd already seen too much of the world to bother speaking to it, and he would have passed the broken-down ranch without slowing if he hadn't heard the sound, a sharp cry cut short, the kind of sound that doesn't echo because it's already been swallowed by fear. So he pulled his horse up, scanned the yard, and saw her stumbling out of the barn, arms wrapped around herself like she was trying to keep her body from falling apart, her face bruised, lips split, one eye swelling shut, and behind her the drunken ranch foreman who thought ownership of land meant ownership of people, yelling that she wasn't worth the trouble she caused, that no one would miss her anyway, and the cowboy didn't shout or threaten or even draw his gun right away. He just dismounted, boots hitting the dirt slow and deliberate, his presence alone freezing the air, and when the foreman sneered and reached for the whip again, the cowboy moved faster than anyone expected, knocking the man flat with one brutal punch and pinning him down long enough to make sure he wouldn't get back up soon. Then he turned to the girl, offering his coat without a word, his eyes asking permission instead of demanding it, and she flinched at first because hands had only ever meant pain to her. But the quiet in him felt different, safer, and she took the coat, whispering a shaky thank you like she didn't quite believe kindness still existed. She told him he didn't need to stay, that men always left once the trouble showed itself, and he nodded like he understood but didn't mount his horse, instead walking her inside the ranch house, lighting a lantern, cleaning her wounds with a gentleness that made her cry harder than the beating ever had. Because it's easier to endure cruelty than unexpected care, and as the night deepened, she told him pieces of her story in broken sentences, how her parents died on the trail west, how the ranch took her in and broke her down, how every day she waited for someone to save her but learned not to expect it, and he listened without interruption, without judgment, like her pain wasn't an inconvenience, and when dawn came, she woke up expecting to find the house empty, the cowboy gone like every other promise in her life. But he was there at the table, mending tack, coffee waiting, as steady as the sunrise, and days turned into weeks, and the ranch slowly changed, the foreman gone, hired hands treating her with respect because the silent cowboy's presence made cruelty feel dangerous, and she learned his name only after a long while, learned that he spoke little because words had failed him once too, because he'd lost a wife to illness and a child to winter and decided silence hurt less than hope, and still he stayed, fixing fences, teaching her to ride without fear, showing her how strength could be quiet and love could be patient, and one night when a storm rolled in and memories of fists and shouting clawed at her chest, she found him sitting on the porch in the rain, and without asking, he opened his arms, letting her shake, letting her believe for the first time that safety wasn't temporary, and she realized then that he hadn't stayed out of obligation or pity but because something in her brokenness matched his, because two wounded souls can recognize home in each other. And when the ranch prospered and opportunities came calling, when people told him he could move on, buy land elsewhere, start fresh, she waited for him to finally leave, bracing herself for the old familiar pain, but instead he took her hand and said the fewest words she'd ever heard from him and the most important ones, "I'm already where I belong," and in that moment, she understood that not all heroes arrive with noise, not all love demands proof, and not everyone who saves you disappears afterward. Some stay, some rebuild with you, some choose you every single day, and if this story moved you, if you felt the quiet strength of the silent cowboy and the courage of a girl who learned to trust again, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because these stories of resilience, love, and second chances are made for hearts that still believe healing is possible, and your support helps keep these powerful Wild West tales alive for everyone who needs a reminder that even in the harshest worlds, kindness can stay.